Welcome to the Black Anarchist Podcast, a channel where critical thinkers come to learn and grow. Through pedagogical discussions, we challenge the status quo, conventional narratives, and present raw truth. I'm JC, author of the Black State Project, The Path of Sovereignty, Reparations, and Rebuilding Black Wall Street. Today, we're going to discuss the rise of transgenderism, and we're going to discuss in the context of how masculine dominant mothers turn their sons into girls. Now, this was something that I sort of touched on in my first book, which was Blaming on Just the Manufacturing of Black Homophobia and Performative Masculinity. I was really talking about the anima and the enema as it relates to childhood development and how it, if you're raised by a dominant mother, that's actually going to predispose you to having feminine tendencies. But I actually found some interesting studies, and the research on this particular subject is completely biased. There's a lack of research, mainly because they don't really want to blame mothers. Although, if you look at Freud studies, if you look at Carl Jung studies, childhood development is primarily associated with like your relationship with your mother. Early childhood development specifically, I guess later childhood development is you can sort of blame that on the father, but under the age of 7, that's completely the mother. And so I'm not sure why there's not enough research on it, but I'm going to get into this first study. This is called Mothers of Boys with Gender Identity Disorder, a comparison of match controls. This is a study from 1991. There needs to be more data. This study is completely outdated, but unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of research in this area. I had to look internationally to find other studies. In America, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of studies researching the relationship between gender identity disorder and maternal influences. So, recent years have seen a burgeoning interest in gender identity disorders, GID, in children, boys and girls with GID. Is it called GID? I'm not sure how it's actually pronounced. And let me just say GID, just for the sake of brevity. Boys and girls with GID are distressed about their gender, wish to be of the opposite gender, and manifest a predominant interest in behavior and activities that are typical of the opposite gender. Boys and girls with GID prefer female stereotypical activities such as dressing up in girls' clothes, playing with dolls, and playing the role of a female in fantasy activity. This is something that I also talked about, how like when I would play video games, I always had to be the girl. If I played Street Fighter, I always had to be Chun-Li. I always had to be Storm. Like, I'm not sure why, but I think that has something to do with the fact that I was raised by an extremely dominant mother. Playing the roles of symptoms of GID in boys usually emerge between the ages of 2 to 4 in the form of an intense interest in dressing up in female clothes. Although most homosexuals have not had a childhood history of GID, follow-up studies have found that at least 3/4 of boys with GID become homosexual as adults. Right, so there's an intersection between homosexuality and gender disorder identity. Like it's about this integration of the masculine and the feminine, and it's all. I'm going to get into the psych. I mean, this article addresses it, but I do have some commentary. The role of biological influences on the development of GID is not understood to date. Well, there's not enough studies on it. It is now fairly well established that GID usually occurs in a context of psychopathology, other than cross-gender behavior. For example, studies have found extremely feminine boys have more psychopathology than extremely feminine boys, than normal controls on behavioral disturbances in between. I need to make this a little bit bigger, it's too small. Coates and Pearson found that 60% of their sample boys with GID met the DSM-3 criteria for separation anxiety disorder and also scored in a clinical range on depression, the depression scale of CBCL. The finding of a relationship between GID and separation anxiety disorder has recently been replicated by Laurie and Zucker on blind rated Worsex. Boys with GID, when compared with normal controls, were found to have more evidence of boundary disturbances. I want y'all to really take this all in. Boundary disturbances, right? From the mother. The mother has a lack of boundaries. She wants to intrude. She doesn't respect your autonomy whatsoever. And a more frequent internal experience of others as overpowering and malevolent. Boys with GID exhibit chronic suffering that is often expressed directly by them as self-hate. One boy at age 3 said, "I hate myself. I don't want to be me. I want to be somebody else. I want to be a girl." They often experience the anguish of feeling lonely and isolated because most are shy and non-disruptive in school. Their psychological pain and suffering often goes unrecognized by others in the environment. Studies designed to elucidate the factors that contribute to the etiology of gender identity disorders are important for developing strategies for prevention and early intervention. The clinical observations of mothers of boys with GID for several different research units suggest that mothers have difficulty with affect regulation that manifests itself in psychiatric disorders such as borderline personality disorder and depression. Right? This is the mother. The mothers have borderline personality disorders. Depression in mothers is a known risk factor in the development of depression, separation anxiety, and attention deficit disorder in children. They need constant attention, and because they can't get it from men, they think that it's their son's role to give it to them. So I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. I've talked to you all a lot about individuation. It usually occurs around the age of 7 that you bond with your mother, and then when you individuate, you form your own identity separate from your mother. But because the mother clings to her son, the son doesn't actually individuate. The son still sees himself as attached to the mother. So, and I also talk to you all about masculinity. Like, masculinity it's not, you're not born masculine. We're born feminine. Like, feminine is a natural predisposition. You mature into masculinity, but if your childhood development is arrested, then you don't actually become masculine. So what I talked about in my book is that you either get the Peter Pan syndrome, which most Black boys get. They may not be transgender, but they're still Peter Pan, meaning they're still overly reliant on their mothers. They're not self-sufficient. They can't think independently, or they're going to become homosexual / transgender. So both cases, the transgender / homosexual or the Peter Pan syndrome, they're both caused by arrested development in early childhood, which is caused by the mother's attachment to the children. The fact that the mother has to be so dominant and really does not allow you to become an autonomous human being, so you don't actually develop the anima. You guys need to read the first book that I wrote, Blaming on Drastic Manufacturing of Black Homophobia and Performative Masculinity. That book didn't have as much rigor as my upcoming book, but I think it still explains it sufficiently. Like this, my upcoming book has a lot more rigor, a lot more studies, a lot more research. But if you just really want a cursory understanding of how boys become feminine, it's mostly because of the mothers. And I understand that the fathers should be. This is not about blaming, right? The fathers should be active in their role, because I also blame the fathers. There's a whole chapter in that book about the fathers. Maybe because the fathers are absent, the mothers feel that they have to take on a masculine role. But at the end of the day, it's between the parents. It's not that the child is a product of their environment. So everybody's blaming the children for how they became, and nobody's looking at the parenting. So you're going to blame the boy in a dress. You're going to blame the boy who's feminine, but you never look at how they became feminine in the first place. So let's see if there's anybody still here. I have a lot of content on it. Let me see these comments before. Well, it's not the sole factor, but it's one of the factors. One of the factors is having an extremely dominant mother. It's an arrested development that you don't actually. You could probably still become transgender absent that, but that is a cofactor. Again, there's not a lot of research on it, but I'm gonna. This is my hypothesis. The reason why they don't really want to research this area is because they want to say that your gender is predetermined. There's nothing that can be done about it. And I think that because they don't want to pathologize those who are transgender, they don't want to say that you could actually be cured through conversion therapy, which I don't believe that you can either. But because they don't really want to put a bias, a stigma against transgender for conversion therapy, they have decided to completely leave this area of research, unattended. It's not. Nobody is addressing this area of psychology, so it's not conclusive. This is anecdotal. Let me just say that this is anecdotal. That there's not a lot of research in this area of psychology. Let's go. Coates proposed a biological psychodevelopmental model to explain the origins of GID in boys that involves a complex interplay of biology, psychological and cognitive developmental predisposing factors. So this is a predisposition. It's not determinative, but if you have an extremely dominant mother, you are predisposed to have more feminine tendencies than masculine tendencies. I just want to I'm not saying that that is the only factor, but it is one of the most important factors. She has explored the contribution of temperament, massive trauma, cognitive representative level of the child, and parental psychopathology to the development of this disorder. She believes that a predisposition in the boy to anxiety, an unusual capacity for positive emotional connection and ability to imitate, and a variety of sensory sensitivities, as well as parental difficulties and affect regulation interact during a critical period of mental representational ability in a boy's life. According to this model, familiar psychopathology is only one of several significant predisposing factors in the development of GID in boys. So it's only one of several significant factors, but they're not there. Most people are ignoring this. This is crucial. All right, so that's the first study. I do have no, that's not. I have a little bit more. Comparison of the mothers of boys with GID and control group mothers in terms of borderline personality disorder on the DIB can be seen in Table 1. Significantly more mothers of boys with GID had a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder than mothers of boys without GID. The total scores of GIB, as well as for 3 of the 5 subsections, significantly distinguished the mothers of boys with GID from the control mothers. Significant differences occur in the following areas: interpersonal relations, psychosis, and affect. Social adaptation and impulse action patterns fail to distinguish the two groups of women. While none of the mothers in the comparison group obtained scores in the borderline range of psychopathology, 25% of mothers of boys with GID did so. Even when the mothers in the latter group did not attain scores in the borderline range, many of them nevertheless attained higher and more pathological scores than mothers of normal boys, so-called normal boys. Considering BDI and DIB together, 53% of the mothers of boys with GID and 60% of the control scored either in a clinical range on a DIB or had symptoms of depression on the BDI. As Table 2 shows, the mothers of boys with GID reported significantly more symbiotic attitudes and behavior than the controls and the sum scores across all 5 dimensions. By symbiotic attitudes, what that means is that it's symbiotic because you haven't individuated from your mother. So your attitudes are a direct reflection of your mother. You never develop into a separate person. So your mother is that way, and you are exactly the way that you're, well, not exactly, but you took on a lot of her traits. Furthermore, the two groups differ significantly in the predicted direction on each of the 5 dimensions, comprising the total symbiosis measure, dependency, separation difficulty, undifferentiation, intrusive control, and disapproval of other relationships. Over half of the sample mothers of sons with GID met the criteria either for clinical diagnosis of borderline personality disorder as measured by the DBI or had symptoms of depression as measured by the BDI. I think I already read that. In addition to difficulties in affect regulation, management of aggression, and chronic depressive experiences, the DBI findings indicate that mothers of boys with GID are vulnerable to transient but not prolonged experiences of depersonalization. I want you to understand that they depersonalize you. They don't care about your feelings. You are just you're objectified. You're just a means to an end. You're somebody to just follow orders. You're not a human being to them. They just talk to you like you don't matter. They don't care how you feel, and you're supposed to obey them like a slave. So they're going to depersonalize you. They have brief paranoid experiences and transient psychoto-depressed ideation. The findings of the symbiosis interview suggest that mothers of boys with GID have child-rearing attitudes and behavior that promote symbiosis and interfere with development of autonomy. Emphasis on it interferes with the development of autonomy. You're not supposed to be an autonomous human being. You're not supposed to have your own thoughts. You're supposed to just obey your mother like a slave. When she tells you to do something, you're supposed to just hop up and do it without question. That completely stops your development. And they don't realize this because they're more focused on expediency. They just want you to do it when they say it. They don't want you to have an opinion. This completely destroys your self-esteem. It stunts your mental health, your development. It has long-term consequences down the road that they don't even care about because they're only concerned with you obeying them constantly, just being a slave and doing what they tell you to do. They don't care about the damage that it causes to your psyche. Compared to the control group, mothers of sons with GID are extremely dependent on their sons for emotional sustenance. Let me read that again. Compared to the control group, mothers of sons with GID are extremely dependent on their sons for emotional sustenance. Right? You become their de facto husband. I mean, it's a quasi-ancestral relationship where you're basically their man, which I also addressed in my book, Blame It on the Dress. You're basically their man. You're not, of course, you're not having relations with your mother, but in all other areas, it's almost like you are their man. And I can get into the psychology a little bit deeper, but I really want to stick to this topic. But basically, the short version is most of them are damaged because of their own lack of relationship with their fathers. Their fathers abandoned them. And so they create their sons. And even though you are their son, on a subconscious level, they see you as their father. So they're going to abuse you to get what they didn't get out of their father. So they're going to abuse you to get their emotional needs met. And because they see you as a resource to be exploited, they don't have any interest in actually parenting you. Their interest is exploiting you to get their own emotional needs met. They have boundary problems and difficulty separating from their sons. They use intrusive control measures with limited setting and disapprove of their son's relationship with others. Examples of these behaviors from the interviews of mothers of sons with GID are as follows. Dependent. He's my reason for living. He's the only person I really have besides my mother, and I'm the only person he has. Difficulty separating. I can't think of anything that I do apart from my son at the age of 12. I never go any place without him. We're always attached. Difficulties in differentiation of emotional states. Boundaries. When I'm happy, he feels unhappy. This is a crucial point. No, I'm sorry. Let me read that again. When I'm unhappy, he's unhappy. If I have a headache, he'll say, maybe I'll lay down. If I'm tired, he'll get tired too. No, well, I would disagree with that. I think really how it plays out is anytime the mother is happy, the son has to be unhappy. So her happiness always has to come at his expense. He never actually gets to experience happiness because her happiness has to come first. So what he's taught is to prioritize her happiness, to just do whatever she says, to basically be a slave. He doesn't matter at all. So if he wants to do something and she wants to do something, your priorities are always supposed to come second to hers. You're her slave to do whatever she says. You're not supposed to care about yourself whatsoever. This completely damages your self-esteem. You become a yes man. You don't learn to assert yourself in society because you have been taught that what you want doesn't matter and that what everybody else wants comes first. Intrusive control. He never does anything that I don't know about. He always tells me everything. I always encourage him to tell me everything that he's doing. Disapproval of relationship with others. It bothers me that he talks to other people I don't know about and not to me. I think that, okay, I have a little bit more. We're about to get to the second study. Borderline psychopathology and depression are predisposing factors in psychopathology in children, including separation anxiety, depression, attention deficit, and borderline disorder, excuse me. The current results suggest that disorders that involve affect regulation include both borderline psychopathology and depression may also be one of the important risk factors in the development of GID in boys. It is assumed that these factors involve both a genetic risk as well as a transgenerational transmission of psychopathology that may come about in part through dysfunctional child rearing patterns. From previous observations, the authors believe that cross-gender identification in the majority of boys, but not in all, is a defensive solution to separation anxiety. Since over half of the boys with GID in the study have a separation anxiety disorder, personality disorder, symptoms of depression in the mothers are viewed as predisposing the boy to develop separation anxiety, but not as independently contributing to cross-gender behavior as a defense against this anxiety. The factors specifically predispose the boys to a cross-gender solution are not yet identified, which I think the second study sort of bridges the gap. It is believed that the father has as significant a role as the mother in contributing to the son's gender difficulties, and that in future research on families with boys with GID, both parents need to be studied. In this study, the clinical impression of the few fathers have been evaluated suggests that they too have difficulty with the affect regulation, possibly with alcoholism. That's fine, but really in most of these dynamics, the father's not even in the picture. So the damage is not coming from the mother. I mean, it's not coming from the father directly. It's coming from his absence, but the mother is actually doing it. For GID to develop, it is believed that multiple factors must come together, including biological factors that are expressed in temperament, family traits, and state, and severe stress during a developmentally sensitive period. And I think that is all I have. I'm going to go to the second study now. Let's see if I have any comments before I move on. Oh, gosh. Okay. I don't know if y'all can still see it. Right, and I addressed it. There's different, and I'm about to address this in the second article. It explains the difference between sexuality and gender identity. All right, let me get to this second study. I hope y'all can still see it because it sort of shrunk on my screen. Can y'all see it? Let me know in the comment section. Okay. Transgender with psychoanalysis. What about psychoanalysis? In 3 essays, Freud spoke about our original bisexual physical disposition. He stated that every human is bisexual. It is important to understand clearly the concept of masculine and feminine, whose meaning seems so unambiguous to ordinary people, are amongst the most confused in science, Freud says. There is no pure masculinity or femininity, neither in psychological nor a biological sense. He continues, every individual, on the contrary, displays a mixture of the character traits belonging to his own and the opposite sex. I don't think that Freud really addressed this extensively. We really got most of this from Carl Jung, the anima and the enema, but let's see what Freud has to say about it. Thus, Freud opposes seeing masculinity, femininity as a duality or a binary dichotomy, rather emphasizing these traditional definitions of gender as a dialectic dimension. Addressing the question of homosexuality, Freud opposes all attempts at separating off homosexuals from the rest of mankind as a group of special character. Indeed, Freud comes forward as a voice pleading for a broad view on normal variation, a spectrum view on sex. The current controversial discussion about transgender reminds us of the pathologizing discourse on homosexuality in the past. For example, psychoanalytic authors have regarded transgender as indices of underlying narcissistic disturbance. Many analysts traditionally approach the body as a bedrock. One regards gender as a factional truth anchored in an anatomical differences, implying that a good therapeutic outcome presupposes that patients accept their assigned sex. Today, however, several analytical voices like, I can't even pronounce that name, maintain that we will understand trans persons better if we treat their gender not as a symptom, but as a variable subjective reality. I don't have a lot to cover on this one. I'm actually going to get into this video. Wincott comes forward as a significant author who is used in radically different ways based on Wincott's idea of mirroring. Diane Ansaf has created what she calls a gender affirmative model. She speaks about the true gender self, i.e., a true self that can be excavated and mirrored, so to speak, can be called an essentialist model. On the other hand, Orion Galzin, a Canadian psychoanalyst, uses Wincott's idea of continuity, something that touches each other. In psychoanalytic thinking, continuity must give way to continuity and continuality. There is no continuity with a true self from the beginning. Rather, becomes a gender being. Gender is both inherited and made, found, and created. One easily forgets that biology itself constitutes a changing, unstable basis. Nature is plastic. The term gender, so now we get into your point. The term gender was introduced in the 1950s by psychologists and doctors at Johns Hopkins Hospital, among them psychologist John Money, to distinguish gender from sex. Inspired by cultural relevance trends and ideas about femininity and masculinity as socially determined, the term gender and gender roles made it possible to separate sex and gender. Gender roles are not biologically determined, as stated by the sexologist Harry Benjamin. Sex is below the belt, gender is above the belt, meaning that gender is psychosocially constructed, while sex is linked to anatomy and biology. The team at Johns Hopkins treating intersex children claimed that gender is determined by nurture/environment, not nature and biology, i.e., gender is plastic and can be shaped in the first 18 months of the child's life. I want you to let that sink in. Gender is plastic. It can be shaped in the first months of the child's life. So that is completely nurtured. That's the parents. So even if you think that there's something deviant about being transgender, it still isn't the child's fault. It's the parents' fault. It's the child's upbringing that caused the child to be transgender. The mother and the fathers were deficient in some way. If one succeeded in changing the body in a clear or masculine feminine direction, the child would develop a stable identity as man or woman. This was what the clinicians meant by gender. What was important was which gender the parents others attributed to the child, a radical environmental hypothesis that could, however, be substantiated. In a famous case treated by Money, a male child was reassigned to be a girl because his penis was damaged due to botched circumcision. As a teenager, the girl protested the treatment and changed her gender to become a boy, but Money did not document this part of the child's development. The sex reassignment became a tragedy for the whole family. Money's publications based on a plastic gender hypothesis became a research scandal. Influenced by the idea of malleable gender, psychoanalyst Robert Stoller, this is the first study that I just mentioned. Robert Stoller launched the concept of gender identity and core gender identity. In Stoller's view, a good life presupposes a match between biological sex and gender role. Let me read that again. A good life presupposes a match between biological sex and gender role. Again, a binary conceptualization of sex and gender. In the clinic Stoller established in Los Angeles, parents sought help for children expressing what parents saw as unwelcome transgender behavior. The treatment of, e.g., boys exhibiting so-called feminine behavior consisted in reinforcing masculine gender roles. Plasticity meant that gender could be bent in conformity with sex assigned at birth. This is the problem. This is what I addressed in my first book. So they're saying it's you can perform masculine and you can pretend to be masculine because that is the societal expectations. It's not real. You can conform either way. You can, if you want to conform somebody's behavior, you want to force them to be masculine or feminine, you can absolutely do that. It's going to have psychological cost though. Paradoxically, a kind of behavior therapy in a clinic led by psychoanalysts. Indeed, it is ironic the concept of gender, which became so important to my generation of feminists, we oppose the idea that sex implies a biological destiny. Our sex should not determine specific gender roles, was used to defend traditional notions of masculinity and femininity. The debate about born this way or born that way is not new. Already in 1949, Simone de Beauvoir wrote, "One is not born a woman, rather one becomes a woman." It is society that produces this creature between man and eunuch, which is designated as woman. Beauvoir claimed she found support in Freud. Psychoanalysis does not try to describe what a woman is. That would be a task it could scarcely perform, but says about inquiring about how she becomes being. The body is not what the biologists describe. To live in a body is to live in a body in a culture. Radically continuing this point of view, Judith Butler in Gender Trouble develops the idea that gender is performative, which is what my whole book was about. Gender is performative. It's something that you do. Butler's project is a subversive confusion against the categories that keep gender in place. But in their latest book, Who's Afraid of Gender, Butler claims that they may have taken the argument about performances too far. Some trans people are essentialists and must be respected as such. All right, now let me see if I have any comments, and I'm going to get into this. All right. Now we're going to get into this video. I don't know if y'all can see it because I can't see what y'all are seeing. Let me know if this screen is.
Hi, I'm Courtney.
Hi, Courtney. How are you?
Nice to meet
I'm
you.
Angela.
Hey, Angela. Hey.
Hi, I'm Jay.
Hey, Jay. Nice to meet you. Glad you guys can make it.
Jamie and I are going into this counseling session today because there are some things that have happened in our past that we need to work through. And I think that there's some work that I need to do too.
So what do you both want to get from therapy together?
I don't know why I'm here.
Okay. What about you, Mom?
I think we need a better way to communicate because sometimes he just got like this snapback attitude where every time I tell him something, you know, it's got to turn into an argument. He thinks he knows everything, like he's almost unteachable. In addition to that, I think that he's probably fought really hard to get people to accept him for who he is. He may probably still feels like he has that battle. I guess raising two boys that were really, really tough and just always played sports and were always rough. Jay wasn't. He.
Man, this is the part that I'm not going to go back to the article, but one of the things that the article talked about was how society views femininity as weak. They don't see it as a counterpart to masculinity. Masculinity is considered strong, femininity is weak. So it's rooted in misogyny. So if you don't respect homosexuals or you don't respect transgender, it's because you don't really respect women.
He wasn't like them. He wanted to, you know, play with makeup and he wanted to dress up with dolls and more of his friends were females. He was just different from his brothers.
Okay. What needs to be talked about right now?
He has a tendency to be very disrespectful.
I do not
and
agree.
He and I have gotten into several physical altercations.
Okay.
Jay needs to learn to respect me as his parent.
My mom has the opinion that I'm not supposed to have an opinion about things. When she asks me to do something, I'm supposed to just do it instantly. When she says something, I'm not supposed to say anything back. And Mom, as long as you think like that, we will never have a great relationship.
We sure won't have a great relationship because if I ask you to get up and clean your room, you need to do it then. I don't have to wait 20, 30, 40, 50
That's
minutes
not
for you to get up
necessarily the
and
situation.
do it when you get ready to do it.
Well, I'm not
Right. So this is what they want. They don't want you to have any independent thought. They want you to just hop up and do what they tell you to do. She's extremely domineering. He's not allowed to individuate because he's supposed to exist to serve her needs, to do whatever she tells him to do. So his defense mechanism is to become feminine, is to develop himself by embracing his feminine side. And I think partly because I don't think in society you're not really allowed to defend yourself from women. So if a woman is abusive, you have to just take it as a man, right? You can't really defend yourself. You can't argue with her. You can't physically defend yourself. But if you put on a dress and you become a woman, then you can actually defend yourself. Now you can actually go toe to toe with this abusive mother who has been terrorizing your entire life.
Slave.
Javian can tend to be very, very disrespectful. And I think at that point, I no longer look at him as my son, but more like an enemy.
So unless you're her slave, this is narcissism right here. Narcissists think that anybody who don't submit to them are their enemy.
No, honestly, I don't think I'm disrespectful. I just have an opinion on things. It's human nature to argue and question things. That's just how
Not
people
with your
are.
parents. I don't know where they do that at.
Ma, if we didn't question and argue things as
Amen.
people, we
I
would still be
didn't.
like slaves.
Right, because something else that I said in my book, that they see their children as property. They're not separate, autonomous human beings. They exist for their parents at their parent discretion to do whatever their parents want, to serve their parents' needs. They at least they see themselves as the parents' property. I actually was on a panel discussion just yesterday where I actually got a parent to admit that he actually saw his children as his property.
Did what I was told, until I got out and did what I wanted to do.
Well,
She's full of shit, because after her trans daughter moved out, she was still trying to control. So that is cap. They always say, if you live under my house, it's my rules. I want you to know that they don't let go. Even when you move out, they still cling, because their entire identity, they have a lack of identity, right? That's the reason why she procreated in the first place. She needed a child to create an identity as a mother, and so she can't let go. Her whole identity is based on the fact that she's a mother. And so even when you move out, they're still going to control you. And these people will say, oh, you're grown, you can do whatever you want. They'll talk about how your parent has no responsibility for how you came out because you can make your decisions as an adult. No, when you were younger, they're going to control you through physical domination. They're going to physically abuse you and force you to submit. But when you become too developed to where they can't dominate you physically, then they're going to use psychological manipulation to get you to submit. Now, this person is still as a teenager. I didn't have the wherewithal to actually push back against my mother. I didn't have the self-esteem to push back. I submitted to my demise. I didn't think that I could actually challenge my mother to go toe-to-toe. I wish I had the self-esteem to actually go toe-to-toe with my mother, because the damage that she has done to me is so long-lasting. All because she wanted to get what she wanted. She didn't care about how it affected me. She didn't care about my needs, whether I wanted to play the violin, whether I wanted to, pursue my education, or not make her the priority at all times, right? You're supposed to just submit and do whatever you want. I wish I had the self-esteem at her age to actually stand up to my mother. I didn't have that. I didn't get the self-esteem to stand up to my mother until I was in my 30s. So by then the damage was already done.
it's not that I don't do what I'm told. It's just that I have an opinion on things, and I will always have an opinion on
And
things.
that's why you need to pay bills and have your own house.
What could you do different?
This woman is so full of shit. This is the reason why I'm writing my upcoming book, The Moral Debt for Life Enslavement. You impose life onto your children. They exist completely involuntarily. You brought them to existence to serve your own purposes, to enrich your life, to give your life meaning, so that you can have a status in society as a fucking mother. You enslaved this child to an involuntary existence for your own selfish desires. And now you want to act like, oh, you're doing your child a favor because you provided basic maintenance to provide food, clothing, shelter. No, bitch. This is your fucking moral obligation. You enslaved this child to a fucking existence for your own selfish desires. You have that moral obligation. You're not doing your child a favor. This is for your own benefit. You have a moral obligation to provide for your children. You benefit from it. It's for your own benefit. It's not for your child's benefit.
I think I'm great. I'm kidding. I honestly don't know, because for me to do something different to make her happy would not make me happy. So it would it's a conflict in interest, honestly.
See, he think he the
She doesn't care about her children's happiness. They exist to serve her. Listen to what she has to say about it.
Parent.
No, I
He think
don't.
he laid down to have sex and pushed me out of his ass. That's the problem.
There she goes.
Right. So because she gave birth, she's the master, and her daughter, her son, whatever. He hadn't transitioned at this point, so we can still call him her son. Her son is her slave, right? She gave birth to him, so he has an eternal debt to her. No, bitch. And I don't respect her at all because I think she's abusive. I think that people like her are extremely toxic, that they are the cause of the rot in society. This woman, who was actually away in prison and was absent in her children's formative years, decided to reemerge and then basically be an authoritarian parent and crack the whip. Who the hell were you? You were not even here when I was younger. So this woman is so delusional. This woman is so full of shit. She thinks she deserves a fucking cookie because she pushed some children out of her fucking hell portal.
He thinks that he's the parent. That's the issue.
No, you're the parent. You are the parent, which means that you have the moral debt to him, to her, whatever. You have the moral responsibility to raise your children properly, to care for their needs. Your children don't exist to serve your needs.
Always trying to put himself on my level.
No,
you
I'm
can't
not.
put
He is on your level, bitch. He's a fucking human being just like you're a human being. I don't know why you think that you're more of a human than your children and that your children are your slaves. And I guarantee she's acting like she was so respectful to her parents. I guarantee she wasn't. I guarantee that she was far more disrespectful to her parents than her children are being to her.
yourself on my level,
I'm
Jay.
not trying to put myself
You
on your
can't.
He is on your level, bitch. I'm sorry to call her a bitch, but I can't stand this. I can't stand people like that. My mother is exactly the same way. So extremely dominant. You can't get a word in edgewise. You're supposed to just do whatever the hell she says.
level. I'm just trying to.
You can't, and that's the problem. And that's why we fight. And that's why we're going to continue to fight until we get out my house.
Right.
Well, under my framework, you have a moral debt that can't be discharged. Just because, and I'm saying morally, not legally. You have a lifetime obligation to assist your children because you didn't just create a child. You didn't create a human being who's going to live to the age of 18. You created a lifelong debt. This person exists for your purposes, not just to the age of 18, but from cradle to grave, they exist for you. You're performing a masculine role. You want to act like you're the father, not the mother. So fine, you can assume the responsibility of a man. If you think that your children are your legacy, then you need to provide for your legacy. You need to leave your child an inheritance, right? If your children need help, you need to actually provide that help. Pay for the damn college education, right? You're not doing them a favor. This is something that this is a debt that you voluntarily assumed. I can't wait until I release my book because these people really need to be put in their place. They are so fucking delusional to think that they did somebody a fucking favor. You did not do anybody a favor. Right.
What I'm seeing, just this one interaction, are two people on the same level. You might not agree with everything she says or asks.
Why does the psychologist have to tell her, like, your child is a human being. Your child is not your slave. Your child is on your level. She does not see it that way. She thinks that her child is her slave.
One day you can have your own space. I would suggest you not argue with him because that's going to keep the cycle and why you're coming. I would also suggest that you both look at what could I do different. There's one thing that I could do different that might improve my relationship with the other person.
She doesn't care. She doesn't think there's anything she can do differently, and I don't think there's anything I'm gonna do differently, so.
Okay. If you want to change your relationship, if you want it to be the way it is now, then keep doing the same.
I know what will work. Emancipation.
So full of shit because even when her children become adults, she's still going to exert control. She can't let go. This is about her. She's the one with the dysfunction. She either has borderline personality disorder or she's a full-blown narcissist. Either way, she is clutched to be. And she has a so-called psychology degree. She has no self-awareness. It doesn't matter what her education is. She has a lack of self-awareness. So even if she has a bachelor's degree in psychology, she's going to use her psychological knowledge to manipulate the situation for her benefit. She's not going to self-reflect and look at her role in the situation. And I know anytime somebody critiques her, she always has to have push. By the way, I did tag her. I'm sure she's going to have shit to say, but this is completely her fault. The nature and the nurture components are both her fault. She brought this child into existence, and she failed to raise this child properly. Whatever product came out of her nature/nurture is completely her fault. It's 50% her fault and 50% the father's fault. The child is not at fault at all. I thought there was more. Where's the rest of it? Okay.
I am not giving up.
His name is Javian, and he is a male, so he.
Will she accept her son?
I don't want your approval.
You'll never have
This is they were on Dr. Phil, so I'm reviewing that also.
it.
I don't need it.
You won't get it, sir.
As a transgender woman,
You want to force me to believe that the son that I gave birth to is a woman. That's not, excuse me, I'm not done.
Well, you have to be done at some point. You have to let someone else speak. Let's do it.
Show everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Over 50 terms used to describe gender identity, including cisgender, non-binary, pangender, and intergender. An entire generation is familiar with them all. But some parents, however, are still scratching their heads in confusion. Now, Angela wrote to me because she says she's having issues with her son who identifies as gender fluid. Now, Mom is a staunch conservative commentator and even ran for the late and legendary Congressman John Lewis's seat in Georgia. So Angela says she is not happy with her son's new identity and says when he comes to her house, he should dress like a man. But JB's wants to dress as a woman and says her biggest struggle is dealing with a Jekyll and Hyde mother who continues to promote bigoted ideas on social media and says she's just doing it to attract followers. Take a look.
Javian lives his life as a female. Javian goes by JB's online. I gave birth to him. I wrote his name down on the birth certificate. His name is Javian. I told him not to come around me dressed as a woman.
I had a collection of Barbie dolls, and my mom found them.
Wait. Remember what she said? She said once her child becomes an adult and moves out of her house, then her child can do whatever she wants. Listen to this double talk. Now that the child has moved out, she's still trying to control.
She threw them all away.
One of the biggest things that I have an issue with is him being kind of provocative. I've seen him twerking. I've seen some videos that I thought were very unbecoming. I feel as though he doesn't have to stoop that low in order to get attention online. This new persona that he has just gives off sassy, ratchet, angry black woman, and I'm just not digging it. I've seen.
Right. Remember what I said about that study? The child is mirroring the mother. So because she's ratchet, the child is doing exactly what she did. I'm not sure that the sexual component is not relevant, but the child is mirroring her behavior. She's ratchet.
Videos of him just acting like a stripper. He's better than that. We have physically fought. We've had a lot of verbal altercations. It can get really heated.
Right. So the trans daughter fought his I don't want to misgender. the transgender for her abusive mother as a trans woman. The trans daughter would never be able to fight his abusive mother as a man. So if you put on a dress and a wig, then you can actually defend yourself. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just trying to, make light of what was actually going on. That you actually identify, it's a defense mechanism from this abusive, toxic mother. You can't defend yourself as a man. Why would you want to be a man? Because that means that you have to tolerate her abuse. If you become a woman, then you can actually go toe to toe with her and give her the business that she actually deserves.
Because Javian can get really disrespectful. I've said some things to him that I regret, like you should have been aborted. I have said to him, don't catch AIDS and die. Now
But this is somebody who doesn't even believe in abortion. She's so damn conservative. She's so full of shit.
Tried to make it seem as if I said catch AIDS and die. That's not the case. I'm telling him, do not catch AIDS and die. I actually told him to move out because Javian has had an issue when it comes to schooling. Just about every school that he has been to, he's been expelled from for behavior issues. So we were on our last straw.
And I wonder why. I wonder if that has something to do with his upbringing. I don't mean to be disrespectful. I wonder if that has something to do with her upbringing, the abuse and the emotional turmoil that this child experienced.
If Javian decided to have a sex change and present himself as a woman, I will always, until the day I die, recognize Javian as my son. So I'm hoping.
Right, but she said that if her daughter moves out of her house, then she could do whatever she wanted. But she's not respecting her daughter's autonomy because she has to exert control.
Oh, Doc got the answer because I don't have it, but I'm searching for it.
Well, Angela, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Dr. Phil.
What is your concern?
I'm very concerned that with his behavior and him identifying with as a woman, that it could lead to dismemberment.
Your child was born with male genitalia, and so you say that's the definition, and that's not going to change. And so all of this other that is being experienced is just a mental illness or a delusion or a distortion, or what is it? What do you think?
I just recently got my bachelor's in psychology, and I have been taught that it's gender dysphoria. I do believe that it may be a form of mental illness. It's not just that he was born male. I mean, he is a male. He was born with male parts. He is a male. And I'm just not going to feed into the delusion.
Even if it is a mental illness, it's something that you cause directly.
That a man is a woman.
Cleveland Clinic did a study on transgender brains. And when they did the study, they found that the brain of transgender people, their brain is actually more similar to the gender they identify with than the gender that they were assigned at birth. I mean, it's an actual brain difference.
Okay, but I don't think, and I think that that's a mental health issue. I could say
that's a neurological fact.
She's not even responding to what Dr. Phil says. She's just going to stick to her. This is a non sequitur.
Okay, and I can say that I identify as a rich white woman right here on your stage, and I'm not white. So identifying as something is totally different, right, from what's actually factual. I think that this is something that's just being pushed as an agenda.
There are 50 years of empirical evidence.
She has an external locus of control, right? She's the one who raised her children, right? She wants to talk about an external force that is pushing an agenda on her children. No, she's the one who raised her children. What she said, she's the one who pushed her children out of her uterus. So it's like no person responsibility whatsoever. Society changed her son into her daughter.
Evidence here, and there are distinct differences in the transgender brain versus the non-transgender brain. So are you asking him to ignore that, to ignore his brain and what filter the world runs through for him?
Well, regardless of the brain, the body, is there are only two bodies. You've got a male body or you have a female body. You have male genitalia or you have female genitalia. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in our brain, but
and
even
part
if
of that body is the brain, right?
Yeah.
And JB's brain is telling all of the sensations, all of the experiences that the filters that this is a female experience.
But he is not a female.
If the brain...
She's so ignorant. She says she has a psychology degree. Transgenders don't say that they're female, they say that they're women, but they still acknowledge that they are male. How does she not understand this? This woman doesn't understand anything.
Is filtering things in such a way that that's the fit, then what should JB say?
Here's the thing. Javian is an adult now, right? And I think that Javian is able to make his own decisions. But as a parent, there is no one on this earth that is going to be able to convince me that my son is a woman. It's just impossible. I don't believe that because someone says that they believe this is who they are in their mind, that makes their body just automatically adjust. So I think that when we talk about science and we talk about nature and we talk about what's logical, for me as a mother, I'm just not willing to accept. And it's also a disrespect to women.
Well, but what you're saying is looking at just from your point of view. It's like you're asleep at night and the child comes and wakes you up and says, can I have a drink of water? And you say, well, I'm not thirsty, go back to bed.
No,
you're looking at it from strictly your point of view.
I'm looking at it from common sense. Common sense is that a man is not a woman. It's just not. It's no way you can slice it. And I respect you as a doctor, but a man is not a woman.
But your child is not saying that there's not a difference between men and women. Your child is saying transgender is the reality. Your child is not saying that
she has a slave mentality. She's been colonized. She doesn't understand that transgenders actually existed in Africa prior to colonization. She wants it, basically what she's framing it, she's talking about is so-called agenda. What she's trying to say is that the white man is forcing Black men to be in dresses. She doesn't understand that we have a whole pre-colonial history with transgender in Africa. So this woman is woefully ignorant.
she is a woman. She's saying that she is transgender.
I don't even know who you're talking about, because when you say she, who is she?
JB's.
Javian. His birth certificate, I named him. His name is Javian.
Well,
and he is a male, so he.
Well, she refers to herself as JB.
And me, his mother, I refer to him as Javian.
I understand that.
Okay.
Well, coming up, Angela hasn't spoken to or seen the child that she insists on calling Javian. So JB's refers to self as she. Javian, mom refers to as he. They've not seen each other in over a month. They're going to meet face to face right after the break.
I like long hair. I like pretty lashes. I like things that come in pink. I just like pretty things. I think it bothered my mom that my entire life I was different. Angela pushes her conservative agenda down everybody's throat.
This is something that I also relate to. I also don't refer to my mom as mom because there's nothing motherly about her. She was not a mother to me. I don't call her by her first name, but I refer to her by her childhood nickname. I do not see her as my mother because she's never acted as a mother.
And later,
some of the things you have said to me are hateful.
She said to you, I hope you burn in hell.
Yeah.
When I said that?
She said you're gonna burn in hell.
When did I say that?
Several times. I have the text messages.
Tomorrow.
Tosh, how do you feel about being here today?
I'm happy.
The relationship.
He's threatened to kill you with a shotgun.
He even held up the shotgun barrel and said, "This has your name on it."
The rape.
Ways very clearly.
Angela says her child JB's, who she says is Javian, is manipulating the family into thinking she's the bad one. Well, here's what JB's has to say.
I don't think my mother is very accepting of me or my lifestyle. I would technically identify under the queer or questioning. The Q can kind of go both ways. As long as I can remember, I've always been called like gay or like queer or like a or stuff like that. I didn't want to play sports. I wanted to play with Barbies. I like long hair. I like pretty lashes. I like things that come in pink. I just like pretty things. I think it bothered my mom that my entire life I was different. I think my mother is a huge bigot. If it's not Angela's way, it's just completely wrong. Angela pushes her conservative agenda down everybody's throat. She wants to choke people on her beliefs. If you're not agreeing with what she agrees with, then your opinion doesn't matter.
The thing about it is that she's not even conservative because she's extremely masculine. She's a feminist.
My mom has called me the worst of the worst. You're going to hell. You're going to die of AIDS. She can be extremely intolerant to other people's opinions and how they feel. And even on her social media, she's showcased her bigoted ways very clearly. I actually have turned me being a live streamer into a very lucrative 6-figure career. I'm pretty sure Angela probably is ashamed of me, but I don't care. I'm ashamed of a lot of the things she does as well. We're probably an embarrassment to each other. Hi,
Hello, how are you? Have a seat. Your mother and I have had some difference of opinion already.
I can probably guess what she said.
Yeah. Now, you say that sometimes your mother is supportive of you. She says things to you that are supportive, but then she reverses her field and doesn't behave that way, and has made really negative tweets and statements publicly.
Yeah, it's very up and down, up and down. Like one day it's, I love you and I'm not gonna hurt you no more. And then the next day it's the random tweets or you see me dressed up. I've been, playing in makeup since I was like 13. This isn't anything new, so.
Well, some of the tweets that you've posted, you said, if you want a little boy to look like a woman, you might just be a pedophile and don't know it.
It's because there's a trending thing online that says boys can be princesses too. And in this thing, you see little boys dressed up as grown women. They've got on gowns, they got on heels, they got on lipstick. Me, I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. Anytime I've ever put on a gown and high heels and lipstick, it's because I was trying to be sexy or have some sort of sex appeal. It's something that women do. So to suggest that a little boy, 5, and it clearly says little boy, 5, 6, or 7 years old should be walking around dressed up like a grown woman. And if you look at it and like it, you might just be a pedophile and don't know it.
Well, you say y'all are out here confusing these young men, making them believe they're women. You have mentally challenged sons physically fighting women and their own mothers because they think they're equal. We don't need black leaders in our communities telling our young sons to be women.
We sure do.
Why would you support taking a boy's manhood before he even gets it?
Right. Why? How does it
and
support?
And then you say LGBTQIA defines adults by their sexual preference. Now they're trying to convince us that it's okay to look and define children the same way. You a lie. I refuse to look at a child and tie them to a sexual preference or desire.
Exactly. Each one of those letters represents a sexuality. We should not be sexualizing children.
Why do you tell your child if they're going to come to your house dressed like a man?
Because that's my son. That's my son.
She's wrong about that. Transgender is not a sexuality. It's a gender identity.
I'm the mother, right? And so I think that respect has to be mutual. I have a right, as the person that gave him life, the person that raised him, right, on my own, to request.
On her own, while she was in and out of prison. And she just said, I want y'all to take note of what she said in the previous video. She said that once my child gets out of my house, then my child can do whatever she wants to do. And now the child is out, she still wants to exert control.
That if he's in my presence and it upsets me to see him dressed as a woman, to come to my house dressed as a man. Because if his issue is that he needs his mama and he don't want to lose his mama, I want my son. I don't want to lose my son.
Do you think your child has the right to self-define, to have a mind not controlled by mother?
He absolutely has a right to do that, but he also has a right to respect me as his parent. And
that's not a right, that's a duty. She doesn't understand the difference. She basically thinks that her child is her slave, her child has a duty to obey because she gave life to this child, imposed life on this person without the child's consent. So she did the child a favor, and so the child has a lifelong duty to be enslaved to her wishes and whims.
It's not about hate, it's love. I just don't have to accept my son as a woman.
It is hate. I think
you
it's hate.
believe it's hate because
It's
I'm not
hate.
doing what you want me to do.
It's not about you doing what. It's not about at all.
No, he's not asking. Sorry, she is not asking her mother to do anything. She's the one who's asking her daughter to do what she wants, to conform, to contort herself to please the mother. It's not the other way around.
All about you doing what I
Have
want you to do.
told you that I hated you?
It's about, you might as well have.
Okay.
So let's take the whole dressing as a woman thing out of it. Let's say that I was sitting across from you, the perfect son you could have imagined. Some of the things you have said to me are hateful.
You're living a
and
promiscuous
she said to you, I hope
lifestyle.
you burn in hell.
Yeah.
When I said that?
She said you're gonna burn in hell.
When did I say that?
Several times. I
That's a
have the
lie.
text messages.
Please show the text message. I've never said that.
Has she said you'll end up dead just like your father?
She did say that.
That's not what I said.
She did.
Quote it.
By the way, I'm very sorry for your loss, both of you.
Thank you.
She isn't sorry for my loss. My dad was brutally murdered. If we're going to talk about it, let's go ahead and talk about it. My dad was brutally murdered. He was shot in the head. When he got shot in the head, he hit the pedal on the gas. The car crashed. My dad burned alive in a car. 2 days after this, my mother was on social media. A person of some famous stature had tweeted some condolences about my dad. Angela then goes on her Instagram. We good. We don't need your condolences.
What I came here for, right, is for us to try to find some type of peace and solace to be able to move forward.
Peace and
But
solace of what?
First, we have to be
I
honest.
quite frankly don't think you care
First,
about me.
we have to be
There's
honest.
Nothing,
I don't think you care
can I
about
speak?
me.
Can I get a turn to speak?
I don't think you care about me.
What is she talking about? This is her narcissism coming out, her mask coming out. It's not the child's responsibility to provide care to the parents. It's the child's obligation to provide care to the child. And she clearly was derelict in her duties as a mother, the duties that she voluntarily assumed when she voluntarily decided to impose life onto this human being. The child does not owe a duty to you. You owe a duty to the child.
Yeah,
I
go
don't
ahead.
think you care
If I
about
may.
me.
Yes, go ahead.
Regardless of the fact, I'm here to find some peace and solace. 2 days before we agreed to come on this show, you were just in my messages saying, that's why you're motherless and fatherless now. Now all of a sudden you care.
Why would you be saying these things to your child?
Because he's disrespectful. This is the same child that
But
calls
you're
me.
the adult.
Excuse me, you asked me a question. I'm answering.
I want you to know that being disrespectful means to not be obedient, to not do whatever they say, to not hop whenever they say it, to not do everything that they tell you to do is considered being disrespectful because you're a slave. You don't have any rights. You're not supposed to have any desires apart from serving their needs.
Answering. This is the same child in my home calling me bitches.
I don't live in your home
excuse me. When you were, even now, it's even worse. Telling me that he wished I was dead instead of his dad.
I wish I was you.
It's his mindset that is an issue to me. Me trying to explain to him about respecting himself, regardless of what you choose to do. Okay, you want me to accept you gay? I can do that. You want me to accept you dressing like a woman? I can do that. What I cannot accept is you not having respect for yourself and showing this provocative, promiscuous behavior online.
You just contradicted your.
She's not worried about how her daughter's behavior is going to negatively impact her daughter. What she's concerned about is how her daughter's actions will affect her. She's worried about her own image. She thinks that her daughter is an extension of her. And so she's worried about her own reputation as a fake suburban Republican who was in and out of prison. Like, this is not, she's trying to protect her own image. She doesn't give a shit about her children.
Yourself.
Tell me how you're a woman.
I don't need to.
I have 3 sons.
Who all
You have
had
one
issues with
mother.
you. I would
You
rather
got
be
one
motherless
mother.
10 times
You are.
over
You
than
are.
deal with a
And I
toxic
would
parent.
Stop talking.
This May.
I'm here, so I want to dig into it.
Well, you're barely here because you tried.
Accept that. I said, you want me to accept that? I said, okay. I said, and then now this. I didn't say I accept it. I'll never accept him acting as a woman because he's not a woman. I don't have to live in that delusion.
You understand.
What makes you a woman?
Because I want to be one.
So I want to be a billionaire. I want to be his wife. Can I be your wife?
Got one. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Tell me how you're a woman.
I don't need to.
You're too masculine to be anybody's wife.
I don't need validation from you or anybody else. You can't name one time I've ever asked you to call me a woman.
You can't, because you know I'm not.
But I didn't ask you to.
Okay, don't.
You know why? Because I don't need that validation from you as a human being.
Great.
Angela is gaslighting to her conservative people who agree with her, and she's gaslighting and she's trying to make it seem as if, oh my God, I just want Javian to respect himself, and I don't want Javian to do this, and you know, him dressing like a girl. And you're making about this whole sexuality thing, which it is not.
It is for me.
Okay, that's what it's about.
Okay. He's the one that actually wants to encourage his LGBTQPIA plus base.
We don't need your approval.
No, it's about
we don't
you.
want it.
It's not
I don't
them.
want your approval.
You'll never have it.
I don't need it.
You won't get it.
I don't need it.
You won't get
I'm
it,
a
sir.
full, complete
You won't
human
get
being.
it, sir.
And
You won't
I don't
get
need it, ma'am.
I have 3 sons.
Who all
You
have
have
had
one
issues with
mother.
you.
You can't speak for them.
I would
You
rather
got
be
one
motherless
mother.
10 times over than deal with a toxic
I would
parent.
rather have
I would
the
rather
2
have
sons
my
that I
father
have
be
than
in the
one that's
grave.
mentally
I would rather
incapable
have
of
my
making a
father be in the
decision as to
grave. I
whether
would
he's a
rather
man
not
or a
have a
woman.
relationship.
You all know.
Well, too
Hold
bad.
on.
Be toxic.
Stop
Too bad.
talking.
Oh,
You didn't hear this, but I had a conversation with your mother before you came out.
Tell me
and
about
she
it.
said, you know, what is this that my son thinks he wants to be a woman? And I said, well, you know, interestingly, there's a very serious study by the Cleveland Clinic that has done MRI scans on transgender persons that has determined that the brain of a transgender person is much more similar in function and profile if you are a transgender woman, that your brain is much more aligned functionally with a straight female than it is
But
with
if
a
you don't
male.
mind me saying something really quickly on behalf of my community,
Well, I feel like you got to speak for yourself.
I don't need you to interrupt
Speak for yourself. I'm not up here speaking
I'm
for
speaking
Trump.
for myself.
You hear what your
and my
mom
community.
trying to work out.
Because when I hear an
And that's
ignorant
the
bigot,
thing.
I feel the need
That's the
to
thing.
speak
That's
for
the thing.
myself and my
And
community.
you're only a
Can you
bigot when
please
you don't
not
agree that a
interrupt me?
man
I haven't
can't
got a chance
become
to
a
talk
woman.
for 5 seconds.
Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
a bigot and you're
I haven't got a
mentally
chance
ill,
to talk.
son.
let us-
You are
let-
mentally
come on.
ill, son.
That's-
Allow-
You're mentally ill,
I'm
son.
rich
And
as
You
well.
and I are having a
If you rich,
conversation.
Why you sitting up
I'm
here with tissue
successful.
in your bra?
I don't have tissue in my bra.
You don't have tissue in your bra.
No, I don't. You want
Okay.
to look at it?
You're
and
right.
see?
Okay.
So if I could get
You're
a
right.
Please,
for a second.
Yeah, you
allow
want me
this.
to sit on this stage and be convinced that I'm sitting here talking to a man and it's
She
my
gonna
son
embarrass
sitting
herself.
right
Go right
across
No,
ahead.
from
but I
me.
do want you to
With
respect
Franks
my.
and beans.
I do want you to respect my right to finish this conversation
Okay,
string
go ahead.
here. I let you speak without interruption.
But
Go ahead.
Angela, for me, is a brick wall. Like, if you don't agree with what she agrees with, it's very hard getting through. I've been trying to do this for 13 years. Imagine what you can do in 40 minutes. And this is all respect to you. I feel like in order for you to help people, people have to want to be helped. So just speaking for myself, it's a lot less about the science of who I am and as far as my DNA, who I am. You don't have to like me or agree what I do, but as a human being, respect is all it really calls for. You don't have to think I'm a woman. That's cool. That's fine. You can think I'm mentally ill. That's cool. That's
I
fine.
know you're mentally ill.
What I was
Got it.
telling
So
you
again, we
is that I
pushing
was
liberal
explaining to her
agendas.
that this is
If
not
I
a
had
mental
known
illness,
that I
that
was
there's
gonna come on
actually
this show and have a doctor
differences
try to
within the
convince my
body
son that he's
for
a
someone
woman, I
that
would've
feels the
never
way
came.
you do. It's not just in your
Got it.
mind.
But regardless,
All right, we have to take a
again,
break. Coming
It's
up,
in his
Angela
mind.
says what scares her the most is JB's influence on her 16-year-old daughter. Is she really falling into negative habits, or is Angela overreacting to normal teenage behavior? Well, we'll meet her and find out when we come back.
My mom is worried that I'm influenced by my brother's way of thinking. My mom is a conservative and she is on the Trump train. We got in a disagreement about abortion and she smacked me because she thought that I was being disrespectful.
We're talking tech.
Hi, thank you.
I'm so glad that you're here. You're kind of caught up in this whirlwind of all this conversation and debate.
Right.
And I'm sure you've been listening to some of this. If you've been within a mile of the stage, you couldn't help but hear it. What did you want to add to all this?
So I just want to bring it back to the central focus of that this is a parent-child relationship. So regardless of how my brother identifies, he is still a human being. And there's no reason, there's no circumstance that I can ever think of on this entire earth for someone to use the passing of someone's parent as a way to condemn their lifestyle. Regardless if there was an argument, whatever names have been called, whatever has happened in the past, that is a line that you simply cannot cross.
Uh-huh. I think you should sit over here. You're articulating this very well, and nobody interrupted you. I don't know. So that's great.
So I have to say something.
You said that since your mom got on the Trump train that they've had problems. What do you mean?
Don't say anything. Hold on. First of all, let me clarify something. I think that it's disrespectful to imply that as a Black woman, I can't decide who I want to support when it comes to politics. And I think that this whole issue about being Black and supporting Trump, I have my reasons why I chose to, because y'all keep pushing this issue. Javian mentioned it about me being a Trump supporter. She mentioned it about me being a Trump supporter. And here's the thing. If Javian is saying that he wants me to accept the fact that he's LGBTQA in his community, then that kind of goes both ways. You have to accept the fact that I supported a pro-life president. You have to accept the fact
when have you
that
ever seen me bash you?
Javian, please let her finish.
Online, they got the video. I sent it in. When you were online talking about me, you said I'm a dumb Trump supporting bitch. That's what you said. To be condemned for supporting the candidate of your choice, I don't believe in killing babies.
Imagine being condemned for loving the person of your choice.
Transitioning children. It's not about loving the person of your choice. It's about your behavior, and it's about the fact that you want to force me to believe that the son that I gave birth to is a woman. I don't feel like I have to partake in that delusion.
That's not what this is about.
I'm not done.
You have to be done at some point. You have to let someone else speak.
Regardless of
why are you talking about it?
Regardless of if you believe Javian is a woman or not, it's about the respect that you can have.
You want me to lie to myself?
You don't know. It's not about that. It's about how you use his sexuality to condemn him. That's not okay.
If Javian wants respect, then he has to give respect in order to get it. I'm not kissing Javian's ass.
This woman is so delusional. She's the one who started this in the first place. First of all, she created her children. She didn't raise them properly. She was in and out of prison. She abused them. The father died, and they were raised in a dysfunctional household. And as a result, I'm not saying that you would necessarily become transgender because you were raised in a dysfunctional household, but it's not like she was a perfect parent. It's not like they had the perfect childhood. She's not taking any responsibility whatsoever. It's a whole tit for tat. What she's interested in is getting the last word. She's interested in winning, dominating people. She's not trying to be fair. She's not trying to listen to the other side. She's definitely cluster B.
Just because he's my son? I got 3 sons.
Making an effort to repair your relationship is not kissing someone's
ass. Well, I'm here.
You cannot yell people down and win.
It's not yelling people down.
You have
it's the fact that you brought somebody on this show that's going to try to tell me my son is a woman. He's not a woman.
If you're secure, it's outrageous.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to all of this. Help us out here, Ashley Marie.
I think it's heartbreaking all the way across the board. Because Angela may not know this, but I know that she started following me in 2018. So part of me knows that despite what she's saying about how she's not going to be convinced otherwise, she is invested in understanding not just her daughter, but the transgender community. You may be able to dominate the dialogue, but you will not control the outcome of the message that we spread today.
You cannot yell people down and win.
It's not yelling people down, but it's the fact that you brought somebody on this show that's going to try to tell me my son is a woman. My son is not a woman, and I'm going to stand on that. You can get all the transgenders in the world. He's not a woman.
If you're secure in your belief, let someone else speak. You're being very disrespectful.
But you want me to listen to somebody
that's telling me my son is a woman. I'm not asking you to do anything except allow someone else to speak.
Please hear me, because believe it or not,
the irony is that her trans daughter is actually more feminine than she is.
Now, contrary to what you may think or believe, I'm rooting for both of you. I am invested in the relationship that you have with your daughter because according to
you can't
a survey,
you can't be because hold on. You can't be interested in me and him having a relationship because first you're disrespecting me as a parent.
I am not disrespecting you.
I feel as though
I am
you
not disrespecting you.
Because
I gave you credit for
what you're doing.
No, you're.
She's not a parent. Her daughter is an adult. Her daughter is not her child anymore. Maybe in a biological sense, but your child is independent. Your child is emancipated. Your child is an adult. You're not a parent that has to manage them like they're 5 years old. The child doesn't even live with you anymore. The child has become an adult. You can call yourself a parent, but you're functionally not a parent anymore. Your parenting role has already ended.
You're not
when you
going
tell
to,
me
you try
that
to
this
bully
is my
and
daughter,
bulldoze through every.
when you tell me that this is my daughter,
you're bulldozing.
that's
I'm not telling you anything. I'm acknowledging who she is.
You're not.
I'm not.
But she's
Me
not a
calling
woman.
her
Girl,
is about
is
honoring
crazy.
and respecting her personhood.
You're irrelevant. I came here to see Dr. Phil. That doesn't matter to me.
Parenting, can we please
So
hear the
according to, I wanted to
Go
get this
ahead.
one out.
I asked you to come here,
Okay.
and I'm going to give you the respect that you deserve. I asked you to come here, and I'm not going to let you get shouted down. Say what you would like to say.
So according to a study that was done by the National Center for Transgender Equality and the National LGBTQ Task Force, so when there is a parent or parents or loved ones in the home who do not support the identity of the transgender individual, 51% have attempted suicide, 48% have become homeless, 47% have become addicted to drugs and substances, and 29% have actually had to engage in sex work.
You're not.
And that is something that I also covered on my channel. I did that maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I talked about the studies for HIV. You're more likely to contract HIV if you don't have supporting parents because you're more likely to engage in sex in risky locations without protection. And so she's condemning her trans daughter saying, don't get AIDS, but she's actually engaged in an exact type of behavior which would cause her child to get AIDS. It doesn't, like, this woman is toxic. I would think that her trans daughter should get as far away from her as possible. Her mother does not have her best interest in mind. She doesn't care. Her mother doesn't care about her children unless they serve her interests.
Going to guilt me into accepting him as a woman because you feel like if he makes a bad decision that it's going to be my fault. No. If he were to listen to me, I wouldn't have to worry about those things because let's talk about some of those numbers.
If your children would listen to you, they would be miserable. They would be miserable. You would be happy. Your happiness would come at their expense, and they probably still would be suicidal. You're not making anybody happy. You're making people miserable, and so you're going to make yourself happy at their expense. But why should anybody go along with that? Why should anybody sacrifice their happiness in order to make you happy?
That you mentioned, even when Joe Biden during his presidential debate was talking about legalizing young children transitioning, he said his reason was because so many transgender women of color had been murdered. And he said, I think the number now is up to 17. Now, as a leader in the Black community, there are thousands of Black men that have been murdered. But you won't hear Joe Biden talk about that because those Black men did not have a wig on. So I'm not going to elevate.
This
Excuse me. I'm not done.
Politics.
I'm not going to elevate. I'm not going to elevate.
This is so disgusting. This woman would rather talk about some random Black man who has no association with her than to even give any type of legal protection to her own trans daughter. This is disgusting. She doesn't give a shit about her trans daughter. She's trying to weaponize the Black community to talk about the oppression of Black men, to position herself as the champion for the Black community in order to oppress trans people. It's so disgusting.
The issue of transgenderism over Black men, because at the end of the day, y'all still Black men.
Gender identity is who I go to bed as, and sexual orientation is who I go to bed with. So the fact.
Wait, but she's out of order anyway. Why is she, as a Black woman, having to advocate for Black men? Black men should be advocating for themselves. Why does she have to be the one to get out here and go toe to toe with the system to fight for Black men? She is so masculine. I can't see her being with a man. I can't see any self-respecting man wanting to be with her because she's so damn dominant. He would have to be the weakest man on earth to actually tolerate with her bullshit.
The fact that you're making assumptions about children's genitals or your child's genitals, that is way out of bounds. At this moment, you have a decision to make as to whether you're willing to do the internal work to silence that inner critic that's making you force your children to carry your shame.
Okay, we're
going to take a break. We'll be right back.
From my understanding, Javian likes to dress up. He likes the way that he transformed. I mean, I've seen pictures of Javian, and he is absolutely stunning. I've been taken aback by some of the photos that I've seen because he was so beautiful. He always looked like his mom, kind of like my twin. I don't know what I'm seeing, man. That's why I'm here today. Maybe you guys can help me figure it out.
Angela says that JB's has warped Imani's mind into thinking dressing like a female is okay.
Now let's go back to what I said originally at the beginning when I was talking about those two studies. Look at how dominant she is. Do you think that her children are able to create a separate identity apart from her? No. She wants to control every aspect of their existence. So her son originally, before he transitioned, did not separate from her. Maybe he did in a way, or she did in a way, but in terms of the sexuality, no, the child did not separate from her. The child sees himself as a woman because of how she dominated the hell out of him. The child was not able to develop a separate identity. So this is not about her. This is not about their specific situation. Look at how toxic she is, and you need to learn from this. If you want your children to be masculine, this is not, you don't create masculine sons by dominating and emasculating the hell out of your sons the way she's doing it. What she's doing is so fucking toxic. I'm surprised that all of her sons aren't transgender. This is completely her fault. She has failed as a damn mother.
You're concerned about the influence, right? And does she need to be concerned about influence here? You seem to be very self-possessed.
Smart as one.
Right. I am very outspoken and very opinionated in my own right about things like gender identity and how she should parent, because bullying your children emotionally and calling them all types of names is not preparing your child for life. That's only going to damage them. And I don't understand why, as a parent, you cannot realize that fact.
So that she's not trying to prepare her children for life. This is what those studies show. She is codependent. She doesn't have an identity apart from being a mother. What she wants is for her children to be dependent on her for the rest of her life. They're not going to have any life skills. They're not going to be able to provide for themselves. She's willing to fulfill that masculine role. She's willing, just like my mother, she's willing to accept the masculine role. She wants to be the provider. She will allow them to live in her house as long as they obey her. She's probably willing to give them money to buy them clothes and everything, but they have to submit to her. She doesn't want to be a mother. She doesn't want to be nurturing. She wants them to submit, and she gets to be the masculine one.
So I would say that you have done very extremely well. I've raised you on my own. Children are different, okay? You and Javian were not the same children, okay? Y'all didn't have the same struggles. Y'all didn't have the same issue. So your upbringing is going to be different.
I do want to acknowledge that you've done a lot of things right. And I say that because sitting next to you is a very fine example, is doing very well, as you say. I think I would say the same thing sitting across from you here. There are a lot of really fine qualities here that you have to respect. There's a strength of character here, a conviction, and a lot of this strength has to come from the role model that you provided of conviction and standing up for yourself. You've done a lot of things.
Absolutely not. She did not teach her children to stand up for themselves. What she did is she taught them to shrink, to obey, to be slaves. she just completely destroyed their self-esteem. If they have any self-esteem, it must have came from some external force. It must have came from their grandparents. It must have came from school. It absolutely did not come from her. There's nothing validating about her. All she wants to do is to destroy your self-esteem so that you can serve her needs. She doesn't give a shit about you. If you obey her and do whatever she tells you to do, she's absolutely happy. She doesn't give a shit that you're miserable. This woman has no empathy whatsoever. She's completely... The study says they're borderline. I'm going to say she's a full-blown narcissist. There's something psychologically wrong with her. I don't know her history, but I'm sure she had a poor relationship with her father. I gather that she probably has difficulty getting men. No man is going to tolerate this.
Right along the way, and I hope you're proud of that, and I hope you're proud of a lot of the strength and conviction that you see sitting next to you and across from you. I hope that, as Ashley Marie is saying, that you would want to be a source of strength for both of your children, whether these two children, whether that you agreed with everything either of them chose in their lives or whether you didn't.
This show isn't about, I don't love you. I love you.
I don't think
you don't have to, but I'm telling you. So you will hear it from me. And so the whole...
She doesn't love her children. She doesn't even know her children. She's not interested in knowing her children. What she loves is an image of her children. She loves what her children represent. She loves how her children reflect on her. And if they don't reflect, if they don't represent her well, then she basically doesn't care. She doesn't see them as human beings. She sees them as extensions of her. So she loves her children to the extent that they serve her interests. She doesn't really give a shit about them. If they obey her, then everything is fine. But if they don't obey her, then they're pretty much dead.
The world will hear it. I love my son, Javian. And what I want you to understand is that so this is what you don't get. I think that
I'm the one that don't get it.
I think that these feelings are going both ways. No. I think that you feel like you don't have a mom, and I feel like I don't have a son. When you were telling me that...
The difference is you created your child. Your child did not create you. You enslaved your child to this hellscape. Your child did not enslave you. You have all the moral duties. Your child does not have the moral duties. You impose a lifetime of suffering and an inevitable death on your child. You incur all the moral debt, not your child.
This is you now. Yeah. You don't understand. I want my son. Like, you're taking somebody away from me. You don't want to be my son.
She's entitled, though. She created a slave. So because you decided to individuate, you have taken her slave away from her. This is her property. How dare you deprive her of her property? You're supposed to exist to serve her needs.
But you want me to be your mother.
I don't want you to be my mother.
Okay, but I still want you to be my son.
Well,
so okay.
I still want you to be my slave.
Make the necessary changes to make it that way.
So
it's that simple.
What changes are going to be made?
Maybe stop trying to bulldoze us and dismiss our emotions like you have done on this stage.
It's not about trying to bulldoze you or dismiss your emotions.
She's not even listening. She doesn't give a shit. And I guarantee if her other sons were there, they would be saying the exact same thing. She doesn't give a shit.
The fact that I'm not going to let anybody tell me that my son is a woman.
It's the outside
you
of
bulldoze,
that.
You even with me.
I've never asked her to call me a woman, and that's one of her main argument points. She can't name one time.
Her children are not going to be able to convince her. The only person who could probably convince her, it would have to be an extremely dominant man to get her to. I'm not saying that I'm patriarchal, but that's the only thing that she respects. You see how she reveres black men so much? If she had an extremely dominant man to come in and to check her, for lack of a better word, she would respect the man. She doesn't respect other women. She doesn't respect children. If a black man, I don't think she even respects Dr. Phil, but if a black man were to come and check her, I think she would shut the fuck up and she would submit, because she claims she's so damn traditional. She's so matriarchal and, well, no. She's matriarchal in practice, but she's patriarchal ideally. Like, she claims she's patriarchal. She wants deference to the black man. but she's assuming the role, and she has usurped the role of the black man. Look at how dominant she is.
JB's. Who is JB's?
JB's, that's my name. That's what I go by.
Did you change it legally?
I'm about to.
Okay.
How can we start to get this family on the same page? We'll talk about that next. Want to know what's coming up on Dr. Phil? Visit our
child. Angela has 4 other children who she has all gotten into it with.
They're not here.
Who she has all.
They're not here.
They wrote statements.
Let this child, let them speak for themselves. You can't speak for them.
Okay, so there's an old saying, where there's smoke, there's a fire. If Jay was the problem, Jay wants to be respected as a woman. Jay is an issue. Jay is disrespectful. Take Jay out of it. Jay was the problem.
Right.
Angela has had some type of emotional trauma or issue with all of her
let
children.
me say something. As
I'm
a
not the
parent
only
that
one.
has raised children on her own for 20
if you
years,
wanna say
there are
I'm the
going to
problem,
be some instances.
Look at her. She's the victim now because she was a single mother. Who chose to be a single mother? Okay. In her specific case, the father died. But this is the problem with procreation in the first place. They never consider the worst case scenario. They think that things are going to be perfect forever. They think that both parents are going to be there forever. They think that their current financial situation is going to be maintained. They never consider the worst case scenario that maybe a parent might die, maybe they might lose their job, maybe somebody could get cancer, maybe somebody gets shot. No, it doesn't matter. This is a situation that she created. This is a situation that she and the father created. They impose life on their children. She is not the victim. And she needs to stop portraying herself as such.
When you and your children don't get along, why are you trying to make it seem like this has been every single day of our lives? You all are taking instances
No, but it has been repetitive.
I'm raising children. There are
No, it's not every day of your life. You can have some semblance of peace if you submit, if you do whatever they tell you to do. But you're going to be unhappy. So when they did have peace, right? Maybe they were able to go out to the movies, go out to eat, and maybe enjoy themselves under her control. So the moment that you try to step out of that, and the moment you try to assert yourself and have some type of independent identity, that's when it becomes a problem. That's when she wants to put you in your place and remind you that you are her slave.
Issues when you raise 3 teenage boys by yourself. There are issues.
Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that?
So we have had to address issues as a family. If anybody in here is a parent,
she threatens my education.
This woman is so full of shit. This is the same woman who's against abortion. This is the same woman who's pro-life. Now she wants to tout herself as the victim of a decision that she voluntarily decided to make. She chose to be a mother. Nobody forced her to be a mother.
Literally, as a punishment, she threatens my education.
No, I told you I was gonna withdraw you out of school.
She threatened to withdraw me from school as punishment.
I did.
She threatened to withdraw me from my debate council as punishment.
Not as punishment.
She has taken my technology and made me take late penalties because she didn't want to give me my computer to do my homework.
I thank you for your comments.
That's what you're
I thank
talking
you for your comments. Would you like to make a final comment?
I've talked to so many mothers of deceased Black trans women who ask themselves and sit around wondering what they could have did different to bring their baby back. And the miracle in this moment is that you don't have to wonder. If you have an open heart and an open mind, you have the capacity to build something much stronger than it was before. And so I really just ask Angela to really just look within herself, recommit to that bond that she has as a mother the first day they brought her child home and placed her in her arms, and think about what she wants the future outcome to be.
Who is her?
Yeah, I couldn't.
For one thing,
I couldn't say that.
Exactly. Who is her? Why are we calling Angela a mother? Because she's not a mother. She's a father. We need to stop. We need to misgender her. Let's call her a him. Angela is a man. Effectively, she has the psychology of a man. She's very dominant, not a trace of femininity whatsoever.
Say any better. You always stay calm with a clear message. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to be supportive of this.
All right, y'all. I guess I really have to revert to the subject of my first book. If you guys are interested, you go check out my channel. I do have an Amazon link for my first book, which is Blaming No Injustice and Manufacturing of Black Homophobia and Performative Masculinity. I do address many of these issues. This is completely psychological. It's the parents that cause the dysfunction, and then they blame the children for being a product of their own dysfunction. So this is a projection. Angela is the one with the dysfunction, and her children are the products of her dysfunction. She is not the victim. She created this entire chaotic situation. Now, with that being said, I'm going to end this live stream. I do have other content, but y'all, I created another channel because my other channel was deleted. So I'm going back and forth. I'm trying to rebuild my new channel so that I can, do live streams and I can actually stream on both channels. So thank you for listening to the Black Anarchist Podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. The struggle is real and the fight for liberation is far from over. Get sovereign or die trying.